welcome to Startup to Success with Maria. My guest today is Connie Golds, who is the founder and executive director of Desert Best Friends Closet, a nonprofit that lowers barriers to employment for its clients in the greater Palm Springs area. She has grown the company from its initial $1,500 budget to nearly $300,000 and operates one of the Valley's top thrift boutiques. Connie, thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to the show.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Maria.
All right, so I'm going to dive in. I'm all about success stories, and startup to success ranges.
Jump right in.
Ranges anywhere. We talk about startups, we talk about successes. To us, you're definitely a success story. So if you can start off by telling me what inspired to start the company, the nonprofit.
So, when you look around other communities, originally we started in 2008. One of my original, technically a co-founder, but my original co-founder, we were talking about what's missing in our community. And we were originally focusing on prom dresses, because you see around prom time, you see always on the national news, the Cinderella Project, the Glass Slipper Project, the Princess Project, where, low-income girls get a prom dress. And so we didn't have anything like that here in the Valley. And so I was very focused on that, but then it's like, wait a second, if I'm going to do something, I don't want to do something that's just going to be one part of the year. I want to do something that's year round. And that's when we kind of start looking at providing interview attire also. If you're going to do clothes, might want to do all kinds of clothes. So, and so we started off by going in the Coachella Valley, we have very seasonal employment. And so every September is a very large job fair, usually, let's say pre-COVID times, anywhere from 4,000 to 5,000 attendees go to this job fair. They often will hire on the spot for seasonal positions. And so I had developed a survey, and I went around at this job fair and talked to many of the HR people, what do they think when they interview an applicant who's not dressed appropriately? What signals does that send? What do they think? And pretty much we came away with two takeaways. One is that people do judge, first impressions do count. And number two, that they felt that there was a real need in this community, that people either lack the resources, either hanging in their closet or in their wallet, and they often lack the knowledge. So my background is I used to work with deaf and hard of hearing. And so the whole point of the American with Disability Act is to level the playing field. And that's what we try to do with low-income job seekers. We level the playing field. If they don't have appropriate interview attire, we provide that. If they don't have the knowledge and skills on how to apply. So we have our Bridge to Employment program, where we work with two very distinct populations. We work with formerly incarcerated or people with disabilities. For both of them, we try to lower the barriers that they have to employment. And oftentimes it's just coaching them on how to do an interview, coaching them on how to walk in, shake hands, take control of the room, and, things to say and not to say. When you think about it, you never get feedback on a job interview. You either got the job or you didn't. And that's the only feedback you get. So, we do mock interviews and really drill down. And, one of the stories I love to tell is that a mock interview, you ask the question, it's often asked at an interview, tell me about your weaknesses. And one of our clients said, women. So then, that gives us, now we can talk about how you really want to, at the job interview, you talk about things that are work related, nothing in your personal life. Had another, I asked a candidate, tell me something that you're proud of. And she says, oh, I'm proud of my kids. I just went to Student of the Month assembly. And yes, I understand, particularly a single mom being very proud of her kids. But again, once you open that door, then that leads, the types of, the interviewers can ask questions about your children and how many, whereas they can't do that if you don't open the door.
Right.
So we really, and why it's important not to open that door, because she didn't understand. So we really do a lot of coaching and drilling down on those things that they really need help with.
That's amazing. That's so cool. And so tell me, what steps did you take to actually start this?
Well, there's paperwork to become a 501c3. So we had some help getting that paperwork. And in the beginning, we started very small. I like to say we were strategic. Maybe it was because of ignorance, but we just started collecting clothing from friends and delivering it to agencies. And we met with a nonprofit coach, a consultant, kind of, should we put our efforts, try to get like a mobile van, or should we get our efforts into getting a location? So he really encouraged us to get a location. So that was back in 2010. And we were very lucky. The desert was overbuilt for commercial space. And so we got a rent-free space.
Wow.
So that was a game changer. So we had a location, then people could come to us. I was able to get.
Was it because you're a nonprofit and
So we're a nonprofit and we could get.
Oh, that's.
Yes, they let us have this space. And of course, it's a tax write-off for the landlord. It's advantage to them. And it worked out. And the desert was at that time was very overbuilt. So there was a lot of empty commercial spaces. So it was a win-win for everybody. We were at a location out by the freeway, which I thought if we're serving the entire Coachella Valley, being by the freeway would be helpful. But what I did learn is that if you're riding the bus, that's not such a great location. So a few years later, we got a location on the main route, Highway 111, which is the main bus route. So in the beginning, I was really good about giving things away. I hadn't quite figured out how to monetize it, how to become sustainable. That was a real struggle for us. It's really hard for me to ask for money. And I think as a woman, and I don't know if you encountered this with some of the people you interview, asking for money, it's like trying to say I'm worth more. Yeah. It's not knowing your worth and our value. So it took a while for that to happen. So that was one of my very initial struggles. Now I'm much better about asking for money. So, and so we have agencies. So our business model is we never charge a client. So we bill back the referring agency a fee for us for serving their client, or we have a funded program. So we have a youth attire program so that high school students, if they need clothes, whether it be for an interview or an internship, or maybe they're doing mock trial or Junior Statesman of America or the debate team where they need professional attire, they can self-refer because that program is funded through the Anderson's Children Foundation. We have a homeless program that is funded through the City of Indian Wells, where we work with a couple different local homeless shelters that when their clients are ready to look for work, because work is usually the last thing they're looking at, usually rapid housing and stability and things like that. When they're ready to look for work, then we can come in and help them with that. So that is, and then we moved to this location in February 2014. We're on Highway 111 in Palm Desert. And the way and we went from rent-free to paying rent. That was a very big step. It was a scary step. But the way this space is divided, we have a front room and then we have back rooms. The front room is open to the public, where we operate a very nice thrift boutique, and the back room are the client rooms. So that way we separate clients from shoppers.
That's amazing. That's so interesting. Now, you said that sometimes you get referrals from the agencies. How does that part work? The agencies refer you, and then do they get funding to pay you, or they just pay out of their own pocket?
So pre-COVID, so a lot of things are pre-COVID, because COVID really has impacted how we do our business. Pre-COVID, we had a very close relationship with your Welfare to Work program. And in Riverside County, which we are part of, it's called the GAIN program. And so I would go to the different GAIN offices and I do presentations, partly to let people be comfortable with coming to us for services, partly to inform them I'm kind of funny and entertaining, so they feel comfortable. And then as a client of the GAIN program, the client has the option, if they need a tire, they could go to Ross. They get a voucher for $70. They could go to Ross and take that voucher. But if they come to us, $70 only goes so far. If they come to us, we can get them up to 3 outfits. And for women, that will include getting them fitted for bras. It'll include shoes and handbags and costume jewelry. So there's more bang for their buck coming to us, number one. Number two, we guarantee the county that what they will get will be interview appropriate, because once you send people to shop, you lose complete control what they're going to maybe get a gold lame skirt because it's really cute and pretty. That may not be appropriate. So that's where, it's a win-win for the client. It's a win-win for the county.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, you mentioned before our interview that you have a fundraiser coming up on April 1st. Talk about that. I want to know how you're putting that together. And
So I'm going to start out. So our theme for our fundraiser is always put your best shoe forward.
I
So it's a
love
little play on that words, put your best foot forward.
Yeah.
And because I love chocolate and I love dessert, we always have a shoe themed dessert at our event. That's kind of one of our things we're known for. If I have to cancel my event or make it virtual this year, I will lay down on the floor and have a temper tantrum like a 2-year-old. So in 2020, we had to cancel it the last minute. And in 2021, we put on a virtual event, which I had the crazy idea that anyone who bought a ticket, we would deliver a dessert to their door the day before, which we did. But I had a team, and myself included, running all over the valley delivering these. We had these little shoe cupcakes. They were adorable. But I've told my staff, if we have to do that again, please kick me and don't let me do that again, because it was not.
Yeah, I can.
So it's a luncheon and a fashion show, but it's a fashion show with a twist. So instead of having fashions that you would want to buy, we feature our clients and we tell their stories. And it's very inspirational. And then we also have a pop-up of our thrift boutique, and we'll have other vendors there too, selling, items, jewelry and purses and, things like that, very unique things, kind of to enhance the experience for our guests. And then of course we have a silent auction, your traditional, and the fun, the paddle raise. It's a fun event. I really hope, I miss live events. I'm really hoping it will be live. So, and on our website, anyone can go to events. Our website is BF Closet, like bestfriendcloset.org. And on the website, you can go to event and you can order a ticket or a table or be a sponsor, all those wonderful, cool things.
Now, the one in April, is that going to be online as well, or it's just in person?
No, April, I am intending that we are going to be live and in person at the Agua Caliente Casino Hotel in Ranch Mirage.
Oh, that's one
so
of my
it's a very nice
favorites.
venue.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a beautiful venue, and their grand ballroom. It's a beautiful venue and it's really nice. And we're very excited about it. We've got, I've pretty much made, we're always looking for more sponsors because we like to help promote our sponsors on our social media channels. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. It's exhausting because
Speaking of sponsors, have you posted anything on Haro to get product sponsors, like companies, brands that have products to sponsor you? That way you can put them in the gift bags.
It never occurred to me.
So I'm going to tell you a little wellness workshop that we did, a little secret on how we ended up getting a bunch of products for our gift bags, because we had 50 guests every month for 3 months. We did this wellness workshop over the summer in 2021. We have, for Roma Leaf, my other company, I have a retail store in Studio City, and we have this beautiful backyard behind the store. So we decided to do wellness workshops. We invited doctors, psychiatrists to come and talk about anxiety. And so these workshops, we talked about anxiety, and then they also talked about the latest research on CBD and how it helps anxiety and all the benefits and where the research, which phases the research is at, and so on. And so I wanted it to be worthwhile for the attendees. And obviously we gave free products of our own to the guests, but I wanted more health and wellness products. So I ended up posting, and it's free to do on Haro, by the way. You can go on Haro, you just register, so right now, if you're on Haro, you're probably registered as a brand. So what you want to do is go register like a journalist, or I don't know what the other terminology is that they use. I think an agency or a journalist. So you register with as that, but use a different email. And then you just go and post a query, and you just say fundraiser, April 1st, we need gift items, and just kind of specify what you need. If it's something in the health and wellness industry, if it's something related to jobs and maybe notebooks, I don't know, just be specific in terms of what you want. And then you submit it. Once they approve, just like, you and I connected, once you approve, the email goes out to hundreds and thousands of brands. And if they feel the fit, they'll contact you, and then they'll ask for your address and they'll ship you the products. And it's
Okay, thank you. That's a really good tip. That's
a
one
win-win for everyone. You can give literally goodie bags giving away at the fundraiser, which will make it more attractive for the next one, because people love getting gifts. I literally had 50 big, I mean, the amount of products that we got, we were so shocked. People were like, oh my God, this, like, each bag is worth like $100. That's
wow.
the value of the products were.
Wow, it's great. And I love those goodie bags. I feel like a 5-year-old kid going to a birthday party, leaving with a goodie bag. Yeah, so that's very exciting.
Specify the amount, if it's 25, 50, whatever it is, just put the amount. Then some brands will come back to you and say, hey, I don't have 50, I have 25. Are you interested? And they'll ship it to you. And all they want is, maybe a mention, and just make sure to track and take pictures and whatever to share it with them. That's the least we can do, right? And we ended up promoting them on social media. We ended up creating video snippets and shared it with them. And then our workshop ended up being featured on Fox LA. So, and we had the products on the table. So we did everything we could to shine a light on their products as well. So
that's good. That's good. No, I could definitely do that. That's a really good idea.
And have you contacted the media to see if you can get anybody to come and cover you?
The local media is usually pretty good about that.
Nice.
So,
Good.
here the desert's very good with what I call hyper local coverage of local events, for whether it's the local newspaper or the local television stations. Yeah.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Good. Yeah. If there's anything else, let me know. I'm happy to share. I'm happy to share my little copy that I've used to find these sponsors.
Oh, I would love to see that. That would be very helpful.
Yeah.
I really would.
So how is tell me about putting the fundraiser together. I'm assuming it's the actual job in itself. How do you manage to do what you do, your day to day, right? And running your nonprofit, and then on top of it, putting this huge fundraiser together?
So, it is teamwork. And of course, with COVID, it is a little bit, that has really changed. We lost, we have a lot of volunteers. We lost many volunteers from COVID who want to, because most of our volunteers are older, so they want to stay home and safety. So we have some new volunteers. So it's sort of divvying up the chores, so to speak. I have someone that a volunteer comes in on Wednesday mornings and helps me with sending out the solicitation letters and the phone calls when we're seeking sponsors. And now we're focusing on seeking, gift items for our silent auction event. So I kind of have her doing that. So that kind of takes it off my table. She'll set up a list of like who I need to email, and I can crank those out. I have my director of operations organizes everything for our pop-up that we're going to have at the event. We have a all team, which means volunteers and paid staff. And we only have a staff of 4. We're very small.
Yeah.
And it's actually 3.5, because our one former client is one of our employees, and he's part-time. We're going to have an all staff team meeting, but it's going to be on Zoom. One kind of informing, we have several new volunteers. I want to make sure they understand kind of what our event is, and it's what I call all hands on deck. Everybody has to volunteer, because we have people sitting at the registration table, and you have people doing this, and people working pop-up, and just kind of explain to everybody what the different jobs are and where they can fit in. And then what I always say to because most of our volunteers are women, if they're the type of woman who likes to go out to charity fundraisers and buy a ticket, maybe go with their girlfriends, we encourage them to do that. Yeah. But I don't want anyone to buy a ticket I don't want anybody to feel obligated to do that. We will take care of all the volunteers that are there. I lost my volunteer who organizes the fashion show, dealing with the models. So that's kind of falling on me right now. I'm hoping to pick up somebody to do that, who usually has kind of a vision or a theme for the fashion show, because that is not my area of expertise. I mean, I can dress people and I can, make them look nice and get their background stories, but if we're going to go with the theme, in addition to our interview attire program, we also do a military ball gown giveaway every September up at the 29 Palms Marine Base, which is the largest Marine base in the world. It's about an hour and a half from us. And then in the spring, we do a prom dress giveaway.
Awesome.
We partner with Desert Recreation District. They use our gowns. So I try to maybe get some people dressed up in gowns, either as high school girls or we won't necessarily get military wives coming, an hour and a half away, but we try to get some Marines to come help out and escort them because it's a program that everyone's very happy to like to promote us, and we know it makes us look good, and audience loves it, and so it's a really good moment for us.
Do you promote the program online as well, like on events.com? And
actually, we don't do that.
I would highly recommend that. That's how we got almost all of our guests, the attendees for the wellness workshop, events.com. And then the other one is Eventbrite.
Yeah, Eventbrite. Okay.
So do both of them. Just post your event, your fundraiser there. And then what's amazing about events.com, actually, I think they both have this feature, is they register. And if they have to buy tickets, then they buy tickets on that website. Or if it's free, then they just still buy it, but they don't end up paying anything. But what I love about it is that they put in their email addresses. They have to in order to register. So then you have this list that's already automatically being captured, and you can always invite them later with your own email.
That's a really good tip. Thank you, Maria. I really appreciate it.
Listen, this is a startup to success show. So we love exchanging information, and as a marketing expert, I can't help but to always come up with ways to help others as well. Especially you doing something so amazing and so challenging too. I think it's pretty challenging.
Particularly with COVID, we've had challenges. I have one staff member out sick right now with COVID, even though he's fully vaccinated and boosted. He's feeling much better, but our rule is you can't come back to test negative, and that might take a while. We had another staff member who was sick earlier this month. We've had several volunteers sick. Over December, a lot of people got sick, so that I'm trying desperately not to get it. So I'm trying to be really careful. I have a grandbaby coming, so in March. So I want to
congratulations.
Better not get sick and not be able to see my grandbaby. I'll be very upset.
No, that's definitely that's a good reason, but you do need to be healthy to continue doing the amazing work that you are doing.
Thank you.
So I know we talked about the fundraiser, and obviously that's going to give you the opportunity to raise some money, but have you looked into grants? What other ways do you ask for money, which is
we have several different sources of revenue. One certainly is fundraising. So we do annual appeal, which usually happens in November, December, and then we have our spring fundraiser. I do write grants, and we actually got a grant for one of my staff members to take a grant writing class. So we both write grants. So that is definitely a good always good to invest in your staff. I think that's really good. We got a grant to pay for that. And we actually got another grant. He's taking my director of operations is taking getting a certificate in nonprofit management. So that's really good. So we write grants, and we direct appeal donations, our fundraiser. We have a contract with Riverside County Department of Probation. So that's a revenue source. And then what has been a game changer for us is our little thrift boutique. Yeah. And it's a very simple business model. We charge $5. Every item, doesn't matter what it is $5. Buy 4 items, get your 5th item free.
Wow. And
just as an example, in December, we had, I think, an $11,000 month.
That's amazing.
And our boutique was closed for, unfortunately, we wanted to close it in August because we wanted to remodel it. We knocked out a wall, made it a little bit bigger. It was only going to be closed for 3 weeks. It ended up being closed for 7. And that actually happened in October, which is, that's part of the beginning of the season here in the desert. But it has come back, and it really, what I like about it, if you walk in, it does not look or smell like a thrift store. It looks like a high-end boutique you would see on El Paseo. Nice. El Paseo Drive tries to be a little bit like, Rodeo Drive, not quite, but that's where it is. But so it has this very nice experience, but with thrift store prices. And we deal with volume. And that has been a game changer, because one of the things, this took me a long time to understand, and I'm sure, startups and even in, for-profit businesses, no one's going to invest money, i.e. give a grant or a donation if you're really struggling. No one wants to invest in a sinking ship.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get grants the first 3 years. They want to see that if you survive, if you can survive 3 years or longer. So I remember when we were 3 years old, I was very excited to write a grant, considered a small grant. It was $25,000, which to me was huge. And we got rejected. And, you know, when I don't want to say the name of the foundation because I would be very embarrassed. I called them up and, you know, said kind of why we didn't get it. And I think our budget was only 30,000. She says, we're not going to give 25,000 to someone who has a $30,000 budget. And I said, well, how big would our budget need to be to get 25,000? She goes, you need to have at least 100,000. And I said, and I'm very embarrassed, I said that, well, if we had $100,000 budget, we wouldn't need your $25,000, which was not a very smart thing to say, I'll admit. No filter sometimes.
But I have a question about that. So why would they care about your budget? Explain the budget. What does that mean?
So, you know, when you're struggling, I mean, you can't, no one wants to invest in a sinking ship. So if you're not stable, and stability is measured by your finances, you know, we didn't, at that time, I wasn't collecting a salary, maybe a small stipend. There was nobody else paid. We were very, very small.
Right.
And we just, it's not appealing to a foundation. They want to see you have longevity. They want to see that you're going to be sustainable, that you're not dependent on that foundation to get money every year. Oftentimes it could be a one and done. So those are a lot of the struggles, you know, and I never discourage people from starting a nonprofit, but I also am realistic with them that the first couple of years, you're not going to, it's hard to get money because everyone says, well, you just write grants. Well, you know, grant writing is a lot like applying to college. You won't get in if you don't apply, but you're not going to get in everywhere you apply.
Exactly.
And that's, you have to kind of learn the heartbreak is what I call it. You never count on money you don't have.
So when you mentioned the budget that she wanted you to have $100,000 budget in order to apply for the 25 grand. Now that's literally like, is that like having cash flow of 100,000 or
just having I would say a revenue source that your total revenue for a year would be around that. And that's where, you know, we're, you know, and I can say this, you know, definitely during COVID has really impacted our business. We are very COVID careful here because because of the age of my volunteers and staff with comorbidities.
Yeah.
So we do require all staff, including volunteers, to be vaccinated. We want all clients that we're serving to be vaccinated, or we will serve them virtually. That's kind of what we will do. But we ended the fiscal year in you know, June 30th is the end of our fiscal year. So in 2020, we ended it in the black. In 2021, we ended in the black. We've had no staffing shortages or layoffs, but I will be honest with you, we have benefited from every federal, county, and state program we can get our little paws on.
Good.
So, so that's the only way that we've been able to survive with, you know, having to be open and close and open and close and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm, you know, I as an agency, we've gone through that ups and downs too. And, you know, we had to deal with loss of some of our clients who basically went out of business or decided to take their marketing efforts in-house to save money. But most importantly, they just cut advertising. You know, why do they care to advertise? Like most of our clients are in the auto vertical and they're selling out of cars. They don't even have cars to sell. So they're not going to want to advertise. And so that ended up changing our perspective on in terms of like, who are we targeting? How can we pivot? And a lot of businesses ended up pivoting. So speaking of pivoting, I would love to know, did you make any pivots?
Yes, so we made a lot of pivots, and I'll have to be honest with you, that is my most hated word in the world, pivot, because yes. So 2020, when we shut down, we were able to put our workshops, our Bridge to Employment program, within a few weeks, we went virtual. We put that up online.
Nice.
And we, but you know, the challenge is that many of the clients that we deal with don't always have reliable internet.
Right.
You can't just assume everyone has internet. Sometimes they're on their phone and it's going in and out. I mean, it is not a desirable situation. In the beginning, we had actually increased demand. So we had a lot, our numbers were actually up for our workshops. our interview attire program, it just halted. Because it's really hard to dress someone and maintain 6 feet, you are close, and that was before there was a vaccine. So we've really kind of hit the pause button. Then we start doing some virtual appointments. But to be honest with you, it's easier for men. You can ask a man kind of what their waist and their waist size. Try it. Would you want me to outfit you virtually, either through FaceTime or Skype or Zoom? I've done it a couple of times, and there was a young woman I'm working with. And so I, just ask, in terms of sizes, I'm looking at her, do you wear a small, medium, or large? She goes medium. And I'm pulling some things and I'm talking to her about kind of what she likes and colors and things like that. And then I just happened to say, by the way, if you have a pair of jeans, what size are your jeans? Oh, they're size 2. Well, 2 is not a medium.
That's a small.
So then I'm like looking at everything I pulled, and then I just went, put all that back and I said, could you go get a measure? You have a measuring tape and measure your hips and measure. So then I gave me a better, so that was, fail on my part, not asking that up front. And, and it's kind of touchy asking women what size they wear, what they weigh. That is a very touchy thing. But we can do it. It is just, it's a little, you have to be very sensitive.
Yeah.
Men are much better about it. Most men don't care, they just want the clothes to fit, and it's very rare for a guy to say, oh, I really thought I was a 34-inch waist, not a 36-inch waist. It's very rare for a guy to even know what size they wear.
Yeah.
So, and our thing is, no matter who we serve, we want to treat that client with dignity and respect.
Nice.
We never want the client to feel that they're being looked down on. We don't want them to feel like they're getting a handout or charity. We want them, when they come for outfitting, for wardrobe assistance, to feel like they've gone to Saks and are working with a personal shopper.
I love that.
And we have really nice clothes. We don't have anything that has stains or missing buttons or broken zippers. We really want them to look good and feel good, because one of my fondest memories is we had a client, we worked very closely with a lot of formerly incarcerated clients. And I had a client said to me, I said, have you ever worn a suit before? He goes, no. He says, but you know what? Today I feel like a man. And it's the first time I felt like a man in a long time.
Oh,
And that's just really touched me.
love that.
Yeah.
That is touching.
Because clothes do make a difference.
Yeah. But I love that. You go to work making such a big difference in people's lives.
Thank you.
That's really
Thank you.
fulfilling. And I want to talk about that a little bit. We all start questioning. I know most people start questioning why they're here at an earlier age, but as we get older, it starts, if we still don't feel like we're clear on that, why, what's my purpose? It's this sort of ongoing question that most people ask. Some are lucky to find it sooner, to learn what their why is. Others are not. I clearly, seems like you have found your why, but how did you come to finding your why? And what suggestions would you have for others as they're searching for their why in this life?
That is a good question. My background is I'm a former teacher. And I'm a good teacher, and I have the philosophy I can teach anything. I just have to be 2 or 3 pages ahead of everybody else in the teacher's edition, just to kind of learn what I need to do, and then I can figure out how to break it down and teach. I think you need to, I think there's so much emphasis on college preparation, college education, and I think that's not bad, but I think you need to look at, what do you enjoy doing? I don't think there's anything worse than having a job and dreading getting up in the morning. And then you have to decide, is it the job or is it that workplace? Maybe you like what you're doing, but you don't like the company or the people you're working with, or you have a jerk for a supervisor or a boss. I never recommend just quitting. I don't like drastic moves, but follow your passion. And if you can find a way to follow your passion, so it won't feel like a job. And I think that's really important. And I think I saw something on, I have to admit, I've become addicted to the reels on Instagram. I don't make them, but I love to look at them. And you go down that, I call it the rabbit hole, and I'm lost for 30, 45 minutes. But, there's one that says, when you work for when you work for someone else, you're working 9 to 5, but when you work for yourself, you are working 24/7.
Yeah.
Never. And, and this is a small community. I'm the director of a nonprofit. It's a very small, visible community. You're never not working.
Right.
So if I'm going out, and meeting friends, of course, that's most likely pre-COVID. I don't do a lot of that now during COVID, but you don't drink too much out in public because people will know, oh, that's that direct, all that matters.
Yeah.
All that counts because you're never not working in a small community. Some like LA, you can be very separated, but here everybody knows everybody or they've heard of you. And so you want to, my reputation is tied very closely to my agency's reputation. So I'm very careful to live a very clean life,
Nice.
albeit possibly boring, at least here in the Coachella Valley. If I'm going to do anything bad, I go out of the valley.
So speaking of Coachella, does that impact you at all in any way, positive way, negative way?
A little bit. We will see an uptick in our boutique, the young people, Coachella kids coming in looking for things. And then I actually host, I'm an alumni of UCLA and I've got connected with some former students or now actually when they started coming, I'll open up my house to let them stay for free or for a very low cost. And obviously they didn't come in 2020 or 2021, but I think that they're going to be coming back this year. And they're kind of, it's fun. So it's kind of a fun, I've never been to Coachella. I'd like to go. I've been to Stagecoach, but I don't really like country western music. So everyone's all excited and I don't know. That's a little embarrassing.
I love it. Well, the choices are endless at Coachella. So hopefully,
yeah.
I've never been either. Every year I wanted to, but then by the time I thought about it, the tickets were so expensive.
Yeah, it's very expensive. And, there's always a scramble for where people, so I have a group of former students from UCLA that will stay with me and it's just kind of a hoot to be around them and it's kind of fun. So.
Is that where you taught at UCLA?
No, I taught elementary and middle school here in the Coachella Valley. And then I actually spent 10 years teaching at our community college of the Desert.
Awesome.
So,
that's wonderful. Now, we're getting so close to the end. I'm so sad because I have so many more questions, but I'm just gonna wrap it up into one question. If you could give one advice to other people who are interested in possibly they have an idea, they have a mission, a cause that they believe in, and they want to start a nonprofit, what advice would you give?
The first thing I would advise someone is look around and see, is there really need in their community? And maybe instead of starting a nonprofit, see if you can partner with somebody, because there's a lot of nonprofits out there often doing very similar things, a lot of overlap, and you're all competing for a limited piece of the pie. So I don't like to be Debbie Downer about that, but I do think it's important that you consider, maybe you have a great idea and you can partner with someone. Maybe you don't need to start a nonprofit. Maybe you could partner with a church or a school and you're providing services there for that group. So that is my honest thing, is that
smart.
It's not start it, but try to maybe work with someone else. If you have something that's really unique and there is no one, it's an unmet need in your community, then go for it. But realize that in the beginning, you're going to be doing it kind of part-time on the side while you're working and running your family, because you're not going to get money right away.
Right.
And you don't want to be paying too much out of your pocket, because that becomes a great big hole. So right. that is my advice on that.
That's excellent advice. That's almost like starting a business. When people come to me and share their ideas with me, the first thing I ask is, have you done competitive analysis? Have you seen who else is doing it? And usually the answer is, oh, no one else out there is doing it. This idea doesn't exist. And literally while they're talking, I'll Google it and I'll find 5 companies doing the same thing. I'm like, have you seen this company? Have you seen that company? And all of a sudden they're frozen and they're just like, oops. So, you don't want to waste your money, your time, which is so precious, in starting something that you think doesn't exist, but in reality it does. You just have to research it. Now, speaking of finding something in the nonprofit space, I feel like it's obviously for profit, it's a little bit different, because most brands or products or service-based businesses are out there promoting themselves so much. So it's easy to find them. But with nonprofit, it's a little harder to Google and find a nonprofit in a specific niche. It might exist, but it's hard to find them because a lot of them might not be as publicly visible.
You should be able to find it. They could be just doing really good work kind of on the down low. You know, I try to have a presence on our social media channels, and I think in the Coachella Valley we're known.
Good,
But
good.
it's taken us, we started in really 2008, 2010 is when we got our first
Yeah.
location. It's taken us a while to become more of a household name.
Um,
I'm not quite sure we're there yet, but you know, we are more known. People may not remember our name, but they know there's somebody that does this, and they can't, you know, got to find where we are, type of thing.
Well, if people want to connect with you, Connie, well, before talking about how they can connect with you, I would love for you to share with us how people can donate. If they're interested in donating, where would they go?
Well, if you're interested in donating, of course, we're nonprofit, so there is this element where we're always asking for money, and you know, I hate that part, but it is, you know, we do need funding. So our website is bfcloset.org, and on our website there is a donate button, and there's also the ability to buy tickets. And then you may be interested, your listeners may be interested in donating clothing.
Oh,
And we
yes.
serve both men and women. We're always looking for professional attire, but we also take more casual clothing too.
Nice.
And our hours are Monday through Thursday, 10 to 5. People can just bring in donations, or they on Fridays we're open 10 to 2. So
Right.
they can just bring their donations in. We can provide a donation receipt for you. And
That's
you know,
awesome.
we really appreciate it. We really do.
You know, the radio network that our interview is going to be on is an Armenian network, and a lot of Armenians go to Palm Springs a lot. And they
Come to our boutique.
and so I'm going to make sure, you know, I myself will bring a lot of nice clothes to donate.
Thank you.
But also I encourage our listeners to go on bfcloset.org and donate. And
That would be great.
good
Thank
luck
you.
with the fundraiser. I'll follow up with some tips on how you can get more sponsors in terms of.
I appreciate that.
And
really do.
thank you so much, Connie, again. And if people want to get in touch with you, should they go to the same website, BF
You can
Closet?
go to the website, there's a contact, and that comes right to me, or my email address is cgolds, that's with an S on the end, @bfcloset.org.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you
you so
for
much for your time.
joining
This
us.
has been lovely.